Hello everybody, welcome back. It is finally time to talk about week 2, Northville versus Plymouth. This video has been delayed a little bit, so I was originally just going to combine both the Plymouth and Breton games, which is week 3, but Breton are looking pretty good this year, so I think that game is going to be pretty big. Going to be a lot to talk about for that one, so I want to give that its own video. So for now, here is potentially a little bit of a shorter one on Northville versus Plymouth. Northville won the coin toss. They deferred their choice to the second half. That gave Plymouth the ball at the beginning of the first quarter. Plymouth had a very, very strong first drive. They were even passing on the first quarter. That's not something you always see early in this game. A lot of teams will just elect to hand it off and burn some of the clock, but no, they were getting the ball up in the air. Quarterback for Plymouth, number 2, Logan Pfeiffer, hands it off to number 5, Nick Diker, the running back, and it is Plymouth's first touchdown of the game on their first possession. A very, very strong first drive. Number 10, Daniel Vigo kicks the extra point, and that gives Plymouth the lead early in the game. Northville would not score on their first possession. They would actually turn it over on 4th down, and the first quarter would end with Plymouth leading 7-0. On to the second quarter now. I don't know if it's part of the Northville strategy where they're kind of playing it cool in the first half. Remember, they didn't score any points in the first half last week, and they were able to move the ball down, but I'll tell you what, the Plymouth defense were doing a very, very good job in not really allowing Northville to get the ball fully down the field in this first half. Starting quarterback for the Mustangs, number 10, Michael Seigan, got put under a bit of pressure here. The Plymouth defensive line were able to burst through the offensive line pretty easily on some of these plays. They did get a sack, but also Saigon was able to land a couple of really great throws. 19 attempts, 17 completions throughout this game. So very, very good job by the quarterback, even under pressure. And late in the second quarter, Northville on Plymouth's 32-yard line, Saigon makes a huge throw to number 9, Max DeFore, and it is a touchdown. Northville's first of the game. They elected to go for 2 instead of just kicking the extra point, trying to get the lead heading into halftime. Unfortunately, a high snap would leave Northville with nothing. High snaps caused a little bit of issues on Northville's offense. They kind of buttoned that up in the second half of the game, but it did cost them this 2-point conversion, and that would leave Plymouth with the lead at halftime, 7 to Northville's 6. On now to the third quarter, and this is where this game kind of gets crazy. I know y'all probably love drama, and there's definitely a fair share of it in this second half. Northville get the ball, and on their first possession, Saigon passes it over to number 1, Colin Charles, and he goes for 73 yards and scores Northville's second touchdown of the game. I don't think I talked a whole lot about Colin Charles in the week 1 video, but he's one of the best players on the team. A lot of great moments last season, and this was his first big one of the night. Northville would once again go for 2 to try to make up for the points they missed in the first half, and it got close, but no cigar. Once again, the 2-point conversion, no good. The score now is 12-7, and on the next drive, here he goes, number 2, Logan Pfeiffer for Plymouth. It's lights out, away he goes, and it's a touchdown for Plymouth to make this a 14-12 game. But hold on, because there was a flag on this play. Illegal formation. That's something that even in the NFL teams are struggling with right now. And this touchdown would get called back. So instead of a 14-12 lead, Plymouth would punt this one away with no points. Back on Northville's side, the Mustangs would benefit from a couple Plymouth penalties, but they'd find themselves 4th and long in Plymouth territory. This was a huge moment in the game. They'd go for it on 4th down instead of going for a field goal, and they'd turn that 4th down into a touchdown over to number 20, Mac Hart. This time, they just go for the extra point, and this game is now 19-7. Plymouth on their next drive beginning to struggle a bit on offense. The Northville defense was really taking it to them. It is third down. Ball is in the air. There's a flag on the play, but it doesn't matter because it is intercepted by number 14 on the Northville defense. That's Cooper Durketch, who I gotta say, phenomenal player on special teams all night and gets the defensive interception. But there was another flag on that play for unsportsmanlike conduct. I believe that was against the coach for Plymouth. So it's intercepted by Northville and 2 flags for Plymouth. That's half the distance to the goal line. It puts Northville right on the edge of another touchdown. When that penalty was announced, I don't know, one of the players must have said something to the ref because the flag is up in the air again, and it is another unsportsmanlike conduct for Plymouth, half the distance to the goal line. Really starting to unravel for Plymouth right here, which is unfortunate because I thought they played first half. Clock ticks over for this third quarter. It is on to the fourth quarter, and Northville pretty much inside of Plymouth's end zone. Seigan throws it over, and it's another touchdown for number 1, Colin Charles. The score with less than a quarter left, 26-7. Back on the Plymouth side, definitely not out of this game yet. Logan Pfeiffer goes for it again. He's off to the races for the second time of the night, and it is a Plymouth touchdown. Or was it just deja vu? That's right, there's another flag on this play once again for an illegal formation, and this play, this touchdown, taken back. And once again, Plymouth would punt this one away, but not before their quarterback was injured. He was limping for a lot of the second half. I don't know what happened, but he was taken off the field. He actually did end up playing again on the next possession, believe it or not. Northville back with the ball. Now they've got number 14, Cooper Durketch, is now at quarterback. Yes, that's right. The same player who got the interception, the same player that was a demon on special teams tonight. Now he's the quarterback. That's actually his official position. So he's really Mr. Everyman for this game. Probably one of the top players for this game, at least in my opinion. He hands it off, and Northville drive it down the field once again. This time it's Max DeFore. Again, his second touchdown of the night. And the score is 33-7. That was Northville's final touchdown of the night, but it was not the final score of the night, because on Plymouth's final possession, they were unable to really go anywhere. The Northville defense had got the best of them. They go for a punt, and it gets snapped too high and out the back of the end zone for a safety, ironically making up the 2 points that Northville had missed out on from missing those 2-point conversions. The final score for this game, 35-7, and Northville score their first victory of the season. All right, now let's move on to my overall thoughts on this game. I'm gonna try and keep this one short. Let's talk about Plymouth first. I thought that they had a really good first half of the game. If you remember to last year, Northville versus Plymouth, Northville scored 42 points in the first half of that game. So to keep Northville to only 6, I think that's pretty impressive. I don't really know what the Northville strategy is. They seem to be playing a lot slower and a lot more methodical, I guess you could say, in the first half of these games. It hasn't been as explosive for them as it was last year. Like we talked about last week, though, it's penalties. This is going to be a season where penalties decide a lot of games. The teams that can play the best and play with the least amount of penalties are going to succeed. I think all these teams are a lot closer than they were last year. Northville had 6 for 60 yards. Still not great, but less than last week. Plymouth had 9 penalties for 96 yards, and that doesn't count the 2 touchdowns that they had pulled back on them, because those were not penalty yards. Northville did score on every possession in the second half, so if Plymouth ironed out those penalties, I don't know if they would have won this game, but it certainly would have been a lot closer. Now let's talk again about the Northville defense. I sort of sung my praises for them in last week's video, but they did another phenomenal job. I don't think Plymouth made it over the 50-yard line in the second half of the game. They may have only once. Couple of names here, star players on the defense. Drew Rankin, of course, 7 tackles in total. Aiden Hamilton with 5. That's number 7 for Aiden Hamilton, number 0 for Drew Rankin. And number 8, Cole Antasio with 6 tackles. On the offensive side, everything went a little bit better for Northville this time around. It took them a while to get going against Lake Orion, and it's still, the first half was slow. There were a couple incomplete passes. I believe I already mentioned that. Michael Seigan, 17 for 19. There were a couple incomplete passes, but overall, it was cleaner. It was a lot cleaner for them in the second half of this game. I hope Northville can take this positive momentum into their week 3 game, because it is going to be a big one. It is Brighton, 1-1 Brighton at 1-1 Northville. I said it in the preview video. Brighton is one of the best teams in this conference. If Northville could beat them, it's a statement. But they are going to be tough. Brighton have had a similar season up to this point. I think both teams are on a very, very similar level. And so this is going to be a big game. I think this is going to be a defining game of the season and a very, very important one. Whoever wins this game, it's going to mean a lot in terms of conference champion, crossover opponent, and of course, the playoffs. The other KLAA West games are going to be Howell at Salem. Howell are looking pretty good so far. They're 2-0. They're the only team in this conference that's won both of their games so far this season. We've also got Plymouth at Heartland. Both of these teams 0-2 on the start of the season. One of these teams is going to leave with the first win of their season. And the final game, Canton at Novi. Novi, another team that is usually very strong in the conference. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. That's going to do it for this video. I have no idea if it actually even was shorter than the other one, but still had a lot of fun. If it is shorter, thanks for enjoying anyway. We've got a big one next week, Northville versus Brighton. So I will be back and we will talk about that one. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.